The gravel crunched softly beneath Mira Jensen's boots as she stepped through the main gates of the Ravensburg Emergency Response Academy. She wore a faded navy blue sweatshirt with sleeves pushed up to her forearms, olive cargo pants that looked worn but clean, and a scuffed satchel slung over her shoulder. Her brown hair was tied back loosely, a few strands escaping around her face. She moved like someone used to being overlooked. Shoulders relaxed, eyes slightly downcast, each step quiet but deliberate. The compound buzzed with morning activity. Recruits in crisp new gear jogged between buildings, their uniforms bright and branded, boots polished, faces flushed with anticipation and arrogance. Mira walked past them unnoticed, a shadow at the edge of motion. She stopped near the registration tent and stood quietly, watching the chaos unfold like someone watching a play they'd already seen 100 times. Nobody greeted her. Nobody offered help. Not until a smirking male recruit with a sharp jaw and a buzz cut slowed his stride to glance at her satchel. "You lost, cafeteria lady?" he chuckled, nudging his friend with his elbow. "Kitchen's the other way." Laughter followed. Mira didn't respond. Her expression remained neutral too neutral. Her eyes didn't flick to the speaker, or even react to the words. She stood still, her fingers lightly gripping the strap of her bag, as if anchoring herself. The absence of response unsettled more than a shouted retort ever could. Commander Breitner spotted the commotion from across the quad. He was broad, pressed into a stiff black uniform with epaulettes that shimmered slightly in the sun. He walked with the confidence of someone who'd broken people down for a living. "You," he barked, marching toward her. "Name, now." "Mira Jensen," she replied calmly. He flipped through his tablet. "You're not on the primary roster. Why are you here?" "Field logistics," she said. "Assignment confirmations in the secondary list." Breitner squinted, clearly irritated. "Logistics? You're supposed to be over with maintenance. Sanitation, kitchen rotation." Mira gave a single nod, slow and respectful, but she didn't move. Breitner's jaw twitched. "Well, you deaf?" "I was told to report here," she said, her voice low but unwavering. A few of the recruits were circling now, sensing something unusual. One of the female trainees, a tall redhead with sculpted cheekbones and pristine gloves, snorted. "She's got a bag that looks like it came out of a lost and found box." Another chimed in, stepping forward as the gear inspection began. "Let's see what the logistics queen packed." They dumped Mira's satchel unceremoniously. A folded topographical map, stained at the edges. A frayed notebook held together with a rubber band. A compass, analog and scratched. A plastic pen with no cap. "Is this a joke?" the redhead asked, kicking the notebook into the dust. "Where's your tactical kit? Your comms? Your gloves?" another one added, her voice high and fake, sweet. No answer. Mira crouched, picking up each item with care. She dusted off the map with the back of her sleeve and tucked it back into her bag. Her hands were steady, her posture stayed loose. Her face never changed. But something in the air did. It wasn't dramatic. It was subtle, like a shift in barometric pressure before a storm. The way she moved unhurried, focused, unfazed planted a seed of discomfort among the loudest voices. A few of the quieter recruits stepped back. A junior trainer nearby, a stocky man with salt and pepper stubble, paused mid-note-taking to look at her just a little longer than necessary. She slung the bag back over her shoulder and turned toward the lineup without another word. Her silence wasn't weakness, it was weight. And as the first whistle of the day pierced the compound, something in the way Mira Jensen walked shoulders level, eyes fixed slightly beyond everyone made, the ones who mocked her begin to wonder if they'd misjudged her completely. The sun hadn't fully risen when the recruits were herded to the edge of the training grounds for the terrain endurance challenge. A thick mist clung to the hills, making the landscape feel like it was holding its breath. Instructors barked orders as teams assembled hydration packs slung over shoulders, laces double-knotted, energy bars half-chewed. Mira stood at the edge of the crowd, quiet, adjusting her worn sneakers without looking up. She didn't stretch, didn't bounce on her heels like the others. She simply waited. A wiry recruit with too much bravado and a neon sweatband shoved past her. "Try not to die out there, cafeteria girl," he muttered, grinning as his buddies laughed. Mira didn't flinch. She tied the last knot and stood, her hands loose by her sides. At the sound of the starting horn, the pack surged forward like a flood. Dozens of feet thundered against the trail, voices loud and competitive. Mira moved last steady, unbothered, not rushing to keep up, not bothering to race. Her pace was rhythmic, controlled. She didn't waste movement, didn't burn energy early. One foot in front of the other, quiet, methodical, ghost-like. By the third kilometer, the trail tilted steeply, and the first signs of panic crept in. A recruit stumbled on a root, swearing as his ankle gave way. Another gasped, his breath ragged, waving off an instructor's help. Sweat poured down faces, boots slipped in mud, and water packs gurgled empty too soon. The loud ones, the confident, mocking ones began to fall behind. Mira didn't break stride. Her breaths came in controlled exhalations, eyes scanning the path ahead. She didn't look at the other recruits. She didn't speak. She just moved. Up hills, through brush, across creeks. When she reached the finish line, she didn't raise her arms or celebrate. She simply stopped, checked the time, and took a slow breath. 3 minutes passed before the next runner arrived, panting, red-faced, knees wobbling. When he saw Mira standing there barely sweating, her eyes calm, his jaw clenched, and he looked away. The rest came in straggling groups, some limping, some quiet, all surprised. No one expected her to finish, certainly not like this. Later, in the navigation challenge, the ridicule returned. Maps were handed out, compasses issued. Mira unfolded her worn map on the briefing table and began marking points. A smirking recruit leaned over her shoulder and flicked her compass from her hand. It clattered onto the dirt path and landed in a shallow mud puddle. "Oops," he said, grinning. "Hope you can navigate with your cafeteria tray." The group snorted. Mira stepped forward, knelt, and picked up the compass. Mud slicked her fingers, but she didn't react. She wiped it on her pant leg, adjusted it, and went right back to plotting her course. Her pencil moved with sharp, practiced strokes. When the horn blew, she vanished into the trees like she belonged there. One by one, recruits missed checkpoints, got turned around, called in for help. Mira hit every marker, her trajectory clean and flawless. The instructor at the final station marked her map with a nod. No fanfare, no reaction from her. At lunch, the mocking returned. Mira sat alone at the edge of the mess hall, tray neatly arranged, utensils aligned. She hadn't touched her soup yet when a balled-up napkin landed in it with a soft plop. The quarterback type smirked as he launched another, this time hitting her water cup. "Still playing logistics queen?" he said, his voice rising to draw laughter. "We should call her Ghost. She's not even here." More napkins followed, tossed like paper darts. One brushed her arm. Mira looked down at it, then picked each one up slowly, placing them in a tidy stack beside her plate. She didn't speak. She didn't glare. She didn't leave. At the far end of the hall, Instructor Kern sat with a clipboard resting on his knee. He'd been watching her. All day he'd noticed things show she moved, how she placed her steps, how her eyes constantly scanned the exits, the corners, the skylights. And when she bent forward to clean her tray, the collar of her shirt shifted just slightly, not enough to see clearly, but enough to catch a flicker of something metallic beneath the fabric, ink, shimmering. Structured. Kern's brow furrowed. He didn't say a word. He didn't write it down. But he leaned forward, resting his arms on his thighs, and kept watching her. Because Mira Jensen wasn't steady like a rookie. She was steady like a ghost, someone who'd done all this before, but in places where no one kept score. The afternoon heat pressed down hard on the compound as the recruits gathered for close-quarters combat drills. The dirt beneath their boots was baked and dry, the air dense with sweat, dust, and posturing. Mira Jensen stood in line like she always did, quiet, unassuming, hands behind her back. Her gray shirt clung to her shoulder blades, damp from the earlier run. She blinked against the sun, her expression unreadable. Pairings were called out, and Mira was matched with a sharp-featured recruit named Rika Own of the Loud Ones, always talking just a bit louder when Mira was nearby. The two stepped into the ring marked by faded orange cones. Rika smirked as she stretched, eyeing Mira like she was sizing up a toy to break. The whistle blew. They circled. Rika lunged first, grabbing Mira's wrist. Mira twisted effortlessly, breaking the hold and stepping aside. No showboating, no flare-just movement. Efficient, quiet, practiced. That only made Rika angrier. She charged again, this time feinting low, then snapping her hand up and grabbing Mira by the collar. The neckline of Mira's shirt stretched with a sharp tug, revealing a sliver of skin near her left collarbone and just below it, something dark and metallic caught the light. Rika froze, eyes narrowing. "What's that?" she said loud enough for everyone to hear. Heads turned, training paused. Mira stepped back, adjusting her shirt, but not fast enough. "Looks like a tattoo," Rika jeered. "What are you hiding, cafeteria girl? Your ex's initials?" Laughter broke out. One of the male recruits added, "Or maybe it's a gang thing. Explains the silent treatment." Commander Breitner's boots thudded against the ground as he stalked toward the center. "Jensen," he snapped, voice tight. "We run a clean operation. No affiliations. No gangs. If you've got something on your body that violates that, we're done here. Take off your shirt." A murmur rolled through the group like a sudden gust of wind. Even the most obnoxious recruits hesitated, the air changing from amusement to discomfort. Mira didn't flinch, she didn't argue. But she didn't move either. Breitner stepped closer, his voice dropping. "You're not special. If you've got nothing to hide, prove it." Mira took a breath, slow, controlled. Then, with a calmness that made the moment feel surreal, she reached up and pulled her collar down just enough for everyone to see. The laughter died. Etched in silver-black ink just below her collarbone was a symbol, two curved lines forming a protective arc, cradling a spire that rose through the center. Beneath it, a single digit, 7. The emblem was unmistakable to those who knew. The mark of Unit Aeon, a name whispered in disaster zones and conflict corridors. A unit that didn't officially exist, not on paper. Not in photos, only in aftermaths, in rumors, in miracles. Breitner stepped back slightly. "That doesn't mean anything," he said, but the edge in his voice had softened. "Could be fake." Instructor Kern had already disappeared. He returned minutes later, breath uneven, holding a file with a faded red seal. He walked past the ring without a word, up the steps to the observation platform, and handed it to Breitner. Breitner opened the file slowly. Inside was a black and white photograph, a group of faces, muddy, bruised, stunned, being led from a helicopter. The image had a date scrawled beneath it. Kestrel Dam collapse. A notation followed. 212 lives evacuated. Sole remaining operative, Monsieur Jensen. Breitner stared at it. His fingers trembled ever so slightly as he read the clearance stamp. Confidential. Eyes only. His lips moved around her name, but no sound came out at first. Then, low and tight, "You were there." Mira said nothing. The recruits were silent now. Some shifted awkwardly, some simply stared. Rika looked away, jaw clenched, color draining from her face. No one laughed. No one sneered. Because in that moment, it didn't matter that Mira had said so little, worn so plain, or stood so still. The truth had arrived. Quiet, unshakable. Branded into her skin, and burned into their memory. The sky was steel gray the morning they assembled for the simulation. Rain threatened from above, and the air hung thick with tension. No one spoke as Commander Breitner stood in front of the recruits, flanked by 3 elite trainees hand-picked for their combat records, lean, sharp-eyed, confident. Beside them, Mira Jensen stood alone. Her shirt was plain, her face unreadable. "This is a live rescue sim," Breitner announced. "3 aggressors, multiple hostiles, limited comms, booby traps, darkness, full immersion. Your job, Jensen, is to retrieve 2 hostages. Solo." Someone near the back scoffed under their breath. No one laughed. Mira gave a single nod, then turned and stepped into the containment zone, a labyrinth of rusted shipping crates, flood-damaged interiors, wire-strewn corridors. The timer started. The gates locked. From that point on, it was all shadows and silence. Inside, motion sensors tracked every step. Mira didn't run. She moved like smoke low, fluid, each step placed with intent. Her breathing was measured, her posture light. A trap triggered near a doorway, no hesitation. She ducked, pivoted, and used the cover to launch herself silently onto a platform overhead. The first aggressor never saw her coming. He scanned the hall below, weapon slung loosely over his shoulder. Mira dropped behind him, a blur of motion. In seconds, his comms were gone, his hands zip-tied behind his back, his mouth gagged. She vanished before the surveillance drones even logged the takedown. The second tried to bait her footsteps, whistles, fake hostage cries. Mira didn't follow the noise. She traced heat signatures through vent shafts and pressure patterns on the floor. When she emerged from behind a partition, her elbow caught him square in the jaw. He staggered, dazed, and she dropped him with a clean sweep of the leg. She bound his hands with his own tactical sling and left him blinking at the ceiling lights. The third lasted longest. He was smart, cagey, watching the cameras, anticipating patterns. But Mira didn't follow patterns. She waited, patient, silent. And when he made the smallest misstep, a shift in breathing near a stairwell, she struck. Not with violence, but control. One hand on his wrist, one twist of the arm, and he was disarmed. She shoved him into a wall, secured his headset, and whispered, "Simulation's over." 3 down. Hostages secured. Timer still ticking. When Mira stepped back into the light of the compound, holding both dummy hostages on her shoulders, the entire camp was waiting. Not a word was said. Breitner looked at the stopwatch in his hand and dropped it without comment. Kern stood off to the side, arms folded, smiling faintly. That night, the air vibrated with something different. Respect, maybe fear. No more paper balls in her soup. No more sideways jokes. Her name passed between recruits like a story too strange to believe but too sharp to forget. The next morning, just after dawn, a helicopter descended. Its blades stirred the dust into a low thunder. A man stepped out, gray coat, official seal, a folder under his arm. He walked directly to Mira, not to Breitner, not to the line of instructors. He saluted. "Mira Jensen," he said, voice firm, audible over the rotors. "By order of Central Command, you are reinstated to full-rank Field Commander of Aeon Reserve Operations, effective immediately." Authority recognized. The recruits stood at attention. Rika stiffened, her mouth a hard line. The buzz-cut quarterback kept his eyes down. Even Breitner said nothing. There was nothing left to say. Mira accepted the folder with one hand. No smile, no speech. She turned, wind brushing her shirt aside, just enough to show the glint of silver ink. She didn't adjust it, she let them see. Not for validation, just as a reminder. She walked away across the compound, steady and sure, the gravel crunching beneath her boots. The dust settled behind her like a signature, and the world finally caught up to the truth it had mocked. She didn't need a rank. She was one.